what verse stands out for me. This is Ephesians 6:18 to 20, where Paul says, "Never stop praying, especially for others. Always pray by the power of the Spirit. Stay alert and keep praying for God's people. Pray that I will be given the message to speak and that I may fearlessly explain the mystery about the good news. I was sent to do this work, and that's the reason I'm in jail. So pray that I will be brave and will speak as I should." The reason I'm sharing this verse, to relate it to my own life, is that I decided to become a follower of Christ 18 years ago. And I was a young girl of 20, and I was raised in a very orthodox family, and my parents, you know, they were very, very against my decision, and it was a lot of persecution. My dad was abusive. It caused both my parents to become abusive. They hated Jesus to the point that they wanted to throw the Bible out of the house. And, at that point, it felt like, what have I done? How am I going to sustain myself as a Christian in a very, very orthodox family? But, when I started reading the Bible and I came across these verses, there were many people who encouraged me to pray for my parents, which had never occurred to me as a new Christian, as a young Christian. But this verse really stood out to me during those years. Never stop praying. And it never made sense as I continued to pray for them. And a couple of years ago, this was, I think, in 2015, my dad was very sick, from stomach infection. He was hospitalized. And it was at that time, like, I felt like God is changing his heart, because some of my friends came, they prayed for him, and God gave him, a very scary dream that he was being taken away. And that was the first time he asked me, "What do you think life is? Is life more than just, physical body?" Because he had a very strong faith in the Hindu system, right? And I really didn't know what to say, and I was always afraid of my dad. I've always been, I was raised in an atmosphere of fear. And, and this verse, it says, I may speak, the verse 18 here, it says, "I may fearlessly explain the mystery about the good news." Like, I've always been afraid of my dad. It was, never in our culture to speak freely to parents. So that was the first time I shared that, yes, there is life beyond death. And your dream, I don't know if it is from God, but if it's making you question, then maybe you need to think about if there is life and if there is a God who really cares about you. I think that was the first time he was really open to listen to me, because he had never been that way. And even my mom listened. And over those years, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've been rebellious. I've even been arrogant about my own faith. And I think God had to work through those issues and help me sort out my own attitudes. Even now, like, I don't have the best relationship with my parents, and I don't pray for them as much as I want to. But, I've seen God being at work. Now, whenever I share a verse with my parents, they listen. I don't know if they will ever believe. I feel like that's up to God, and that's truly God's work, and it's not something I can do for them. But I feel like God plants these little opportunities, and he has to work through me, through my own uh, transformation. And yeah, what I want to say is that, we are not always perfect, even as Christians. We're not doing a favor to God even by praying, because he does his work anyway, but he uses us as a channel to work in people's lives. And it is somehow bringing transformation in our own attitudes, our thinking, our treatment to them. Because, I have always believed my parents are very toxic. And I was just sharing with Monica yesterday that, sometimes I have to look within me and ask myself, am I being as toxic as I accuse the others of? And sometimes I think yes. And for me, prayer is not just about asking God to bring salvation, but even mending this, broken relationship that I have with my parents. And, look within me and say, yeah, this is something bigger. God just doesn't want to save my parents, but he wants to do something bigger. And I think it's really about leaving it to him. But I'm called to pray for my parents. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. So over to Ben. Thank you very much for listening.